the SCPH replay sent in by the community and in the Howling Waste, as I like to call it, of Triton LE. We are gonna have this Zerg versus Terran matchup. First things first, introducing our players here on the top left, we have GeoHenPH. And his opponents on the bottom right, now we're playing that blue Terran with a very interesting picture of a man right there. It is gonna be KrisxBell. So is that Chris? Who is this guy? Look, legit, who is this guy? I'm now very curious. Is this Chris or is this Bell? But KrisxBell gonna be setting up a supply depot very close to his base. Okay, so this is very interesting. We're not gonna see the standard wall here from our blue Terran. In the meantime, GeoHen decided to go into that hatchery first opening, going for the macro earlier onto those eggs, more drones, and just a good way all about to keep things up. In the meantime, yeah, KrisxBell gonna go for that second into the natural we go. So I'm expecting Chris to actually wall on into the okay. So the wall's gonna be a little later. This is the thing. Supply depot here, barracks here, means the wall's not gonna be here, but this wall is gonna come online maybe like half a minute later. If GeoHen can slip something in, might just put KrisxBell on notice. But it might not happen because spawning pool does come second to the hatchery, and GeoHen will be looking to get some gas to get that metabolic boost on going first. Just focusing on to the macro, a very respectable opinion and a very respectable approach. You don't always need to go for the cheese to go for the aggression. It really depends on what kind of player you are in the first place. In the meantime though, yeah, second base being built here and now by KrisxBell. Barracks can be set on up to make that 3. So it's 3 racks opening, 3 racks, 2 base infantry. Gonna be the way of the game. This might be a really early aggression, and honestly, you can say that it's a little cheesy here and now from KrisxBell. He's sacrificing a lot of his macro, a lot of his tech tree to just keep on with the aggression. Marines after Marines after Marines gonna be built. And I like this also, he's gonna go for the orbital command first. He's not fully focusing in to producing Marines. Mule's gonna be so much of a difference maker in terms of that mineral counts. It'll allow even more and more Marines to shine. In the meantime though, yes, supply depot gonna be built again. Seems like the wall will be coming on up very soon. Third base though here for GeoHen to keep the macro on going. And the Overlord flying along as well. And these plates are suffering. The plates, an endangered species, the only one left on this side of Triton, can't even make it to its mates. It will go down. And let's hold a funeral here for the plates. A moment of silence for the life of the unbreakable plates. Or it's not even unbreakable, it's unbuildable. The unbuildable plates. Oh. So there you go guys, there's the amusement there, and apparently the unbuildable plates here on to the top part also are dead. So officially, Triton has been another place where another soft-spoken creature has gotten the extinction notice. In the meantime, yeah, GeoHen gonna be getting as much scouting as possible. Purpose, of course, to allow these overlords to get even quicker, be able to see more of the map, make sure that intel is on point, because intel wins wars, ladies and gentlemen. Meantime though, GeoHen right now, the slow march of the Ace Queens, Creep Tumors set on up. It's all about that spread, it's all about getting closer and closer to your opponent, extra speed boost, courtesy of the terrain, and of course, preventing them from building in any kind of aspects. Living organism. Honestly, this floor is alive. It really is. It's like soil basically. It has a bunch of creatures in it, and I wouldn't be surprised if it just eats you. That's what Creep's all about. Anyway though, Baneling that's gonna be built here and now by GeoHen. He is gonna be trying to go for that circling Baneling composition here on 3 pace. And this might be a transition into Mutalisk later on when we see the lair flying on in. In the meantime though, Starport will be set on up with the command center to boot in behind Factory. They'll be going for the reactor, so this is a heavy bio focus here from KrisxBell. Already expecting Widow Mines here just for the defense, and with this Starport as well. You're gonna switch around the reactor, then he puts here, Medivacs double pumped, and then we have the MMM ready to go. Still though, aliens versus Marines into this one. As the Terran Marines gonna try to run away from the Queens, but it seems like face huggers are just not gonna be one extra worry here and now, because here comes the Predators, here comes the Doggies, and they are gonna be sprouting those wings. Beautiful stutter step though, Stimpak is there, but overall that's just gonna be too many Zerglings tossed into the fire. KrisxBell will lose that scouting expedition in the first place. That's going to be setting up some seagull bait here and now. Aliens 2 coming your way soon. Eventually set on up though. GeoHen playing it safe as well. Spine crawlers onto that natural, making sure that these Marines just don't walk up the ramp and get the free hits that they need. In the meantime though, it seems like GeoHen doesn't get too much of the scouting onto that base. He knows that something is coming. He saw that building, so he might know that the starports is going to be online soon. Still no spore crawlers though. They might need a few more spines as well to make sure that he can mitigate all of this, or just even more Zerglings and Banelings waiting at the wings to get the burst on. Really depends on how GeoHen is going to play this out. Now he's going to go for that lair tech by the 6-minute mark. It might be time to finally see what the Mutas can be all about when the Spire comes online. +1/2 melee, not surprised there. He is focusing heavily on the Zerglings, Banelings, very expendable units. Allows him to save up and just go for the burst with 100 onto the minerals and gas if it really is going to be Muta. In the meantime though, yeah, full bio here from KrisxBell. He already proved what he was going to go on at the very start, and it really is up to GeoHen to face off against the telegraphed action. This is just basically KrisxBell feeling very comfortable with what he knows. This is how he plays this game. He knows how to play Terran really well with the bio, and there are players like that in the first place. There are players who, even whatever the meta is, whatever mech can bring, if you're really good at the bio, really good at the splits, or really good with the drops, it's something you just want to play, something you're comfortable with, and something that works really well for you. It's your identity as a Terran player. And conversely, that can apply as well to mech, but right now, this might be mincemeat here with the Banelings being morphed in. And in the meantime, response already very quickly done by GeoHen. KrisxBell he's sending those in, but here comes the roly-poly olies, but they're still not rolling as of yet. Gets a good burst onto one, and oh, the Queen's gonna get sniped onto the medevac. What is KrisxBell gonna do? One Marine gonna go down, takes care of one Baneling. But overall, that's a huge loss there for KrisxBell. Medevacs and Marines, sure, are more or less pretty cheap. But if you lose many of them in a big burst, that is just absolute quality pickoffs there from GeoHen. And speaking of the roly-poly ollies, as I like to call them, Baneling's gonna get that movement really soon. Extra HP to make it a little tankier. Of course, rolling around at the speed of sound, getting a little quicker as well. And GeoHen even spreading that creep onto both sides, making sure that all his pathways are full of that Zerg pavement. In the meantime, more of these Zerglings being morphed in. Here comes the command center, exposed already to the elements, and will be met by these Zerglings, forcing the lift on up already. In the meantime, mules here onto the outpost, and this is very dangerous actually for KrisxBell. So many mules, so little time, and he will have to be desperate on this defense, making sure that these mules can stay alive for the longest of the durations for all its life. 110 seconds plus. 113, 114, I believe. Just a little under the 2-minute mark. All about that defense preventing those mineral workers to going down. But in the meantime, GeoHen catching up in that worker count. He is on 4 base already compared to the 3 that KrisxBell has. He is going to go for a 4th though. And seems like the Terran is really going for the saturation game. GeoHen a little behind in terms of that macro, especially with the Terran focusing heavily on those racks in the first place. So since he doesn't have any high cost units, it allows him to build basically what? 2 Marines, 1 SCV, and he can just keep building workers along the way. A very quick 200, but it just might not be the quality you're expecting. In the meantime though, we are not going to get that Spire. I was hyping up the Spire so much, seeing the Banelings as well as the Zerglings, but we are going to see the Hydralisk instead, and this is another way to go about with this opening. You get make them a little tankier, still focus on the Zergs and the Banes doing the extra damage, and the Hydras can slither around to go for the start step. Reminiscent of the Marines can get extra damage rather against them as well. And overall, a really good tech swap here for GeoHen. If he goes Muta, it might be a little too dangerous if the Marines are en masse. And the Mutas in the meantime gets that bonus damage safely in behind, and anti-air the way to go. And like this even more, Lurker then, sure. It does a little more damage against armored in terms of those bonuses, but the splash damage is just something that the Marines cannot handle en masse. So it really will be all about the splits here and now from KrisxBell. He's coming closer and closer, already sieging onto this high ground. Bailings coming closer and closer as well, goes for the roll on in, gets the burst on, and oh my god, the obliteration of the front line! GeoHen deciding, okay, I'm happy with that, going back to that high ground. Unfortunately, he cannot use the high ground vision advantage because there are flyers in the air, spotting that one out. And start step here and now step back to try and get on away. The Zerglings can actually go for the cleanup by this point, but the Medivacs with enough band-aids to keep them alive. Overall, that was really good there for GeoHen. This does put him basically in an even mark, but the Zerg, you can say, is still a little behind in terms of numbers, but is looking pretty solid so far with the unit composition he has in the first place. This is the perfect units to fight this army, and now here they come yet again. Forces the load on in. Unfortunately, Lurkers cannot target air. The Viking gonna drop run down for some reason, and GeoHen taking the bait. That's too many Banelings there. Could have actually used the other units in the first place. Siege Tank though will get caught, and now GeoHen creeping closer and closer to his opponent. I think the thing here for GeoHen is he did go for some quality Zerglings instead of building too many of them, and I like that from him. He focuses onto that army, and right now with things slowly but surely normalizing, this is GeoHen just looking to try and come back into this. I think really KrisxBell had a lot of control in the map till he lost the initial drop, because that really allowed GeoHen to not be scared of these drops. He knows he can defend them, and at the same time he didn't lose out, was able to build in instead, was able to macro on up. By this point, more and more bases here for GeoHen. Army counts even going to the 100, so close to getting all maxed out by this point. And here comes GeoHen coming closer and closer to go for the attack yet again. Sees the missile turrets there. It seems like that was the expectation here for KrisxBell. Could be detectors by this point. Planetary forces apparently. And it's now time to get the Baneling burst on. Lurkers going for the slice and dice as well. Eventually, the Subterranean Spines will get the takedown. But where is the bulk of the army? No, it's KrisxBell deciding, I'm gonna bring this all here. Lurker's gonna be set on up there, but here comes the Star Step action yet again. Hydralisk trying to fight, but in the front line, they're not gonna do much. And some obliteration here and now of this Zerg outpost. Hatchery gonna go down so quickly. Drones transitioning all the way to the left-hand side. And is this also a bait here from GeoHen? He's pretending that there's a base there. But no, KrisxBell not gonna fall for it. Lurker instead gonna drop on down. In the meantime, there was already a mop-up, and the Terran is going to be knocking on to the doorstep of GeoHen. Do or die time here and now for GeoHen, because KrisxBell is down on the workers. A good AoE so far. The siege tank's out of range, actually, and it seems like the Marines and the Marauders is overextending a little too bits, because the siege tanks cannot get close and not be in range. The Hydralisk using a little bit of the ranged nature to stay safe. And overall, a good defense all throughout here for GeoHen. He now takes over basically of this game. Everything's so expendable for him. In the meantime, KrisxBell gonna be looking to play the macro yet again, but he is now still on to this 4-base scenario. Was trying to go for 5, didn't pan out. Nine Swarm right here, right now, into the main line. And the pressure just does not stop here for GeoHen. He hasn't let up so far, and here he goes yet again. Was playing a little restrained all throughout till the Medivacs fell with the Marines, and right now he is the true aggressor of this one. It's KrisxBell forced to play the defensive, but no, he's gonna go for an expedition yet again. 200 already in this instance. Siege tanks trying to decide if they're gonna go in siege mode or not. But anyway, here comes KrisxBell going closer and closer to his opponent. First things first though, making sure the outpost here and now gonna be defended. And honestly, KrisxBell cannot build anything else. This is gonna be a one-man band. This is gonna be a one-way trip for many of that 141 supply. And speaking of trip, here comes the Nihilus Worm coming online yet again. Sees the rocks, the rubble coming our way. And it's now time to unleash the swarm. One more go. Zerglings now funneled on out. SCVs potentially the target. Overseer gonna fly on up on top as well. And I'd love to see potentially some changeling blocks here onto the ramp. In the meantime though, all about that on attack, making sure the SCVs go down, even take care of some of these building attachments. But anyway, KrisxBell deciding, never mind, I'm really just gonna go for it. Wants to go for the base race, wants to go for fights, and he does get baited! It's basically these drones trying to run on away, and KrisxBell going for a wild goose chase, wants to get the drones here, and now we do see Burrow for GeoHen apparently, but just doesn't pan out pretty well. A lot of upgrades honestly for GeoHen. The lurkers are all decked out, the hydras are all decked out, we got +1 to make them stronger, +2, making these melee units pack a punch. And overall, KrisxBell, your main base is burning. The village is gonna get caught by the Oni. Here comes the Hydras. Here comes the Lurkers. And by this point in time, GeoHen has firmly planted his foot onto the embodiments, onto the areas of KrisxBell. GeoHen in the meantime defending with a handful, and apparently such a cost-effective way to go. Hydra still have to back on out. Lurkers looking to get on the way. Here comes the Medivacs, but infantry just going lower and lower in the counts. And even with all this healing, it just might not be enough, because here comes the thunder, looking for the lightning, looking for the pow down. And KrisxBell on the low ground. Siege tank still going for the hits yet again. These eggs gonna hatch very, very soon. Hydra's gonna come out of that. The real question is, can they get caught mid-transition? Seems like that's gonna be the case. Lurkers looking to get in position, but the scan forces them away. Drones right now coming onto the backhand side. Corruptors gonna get some free hits up above if the Marines don't aim up. Drones still blowing up all around. Here comes KrisxBell yet again. GeoHen throwing things at the siege tanks, but it really is just gonna be their plating unsundered. Still no opportunity here and now for GeoHen, because he's mopping up like a maid, like a janitor in the classroom after the school day is over. And by this point in time, KrisxBell has just decided to fully commit with the siege tank positions. Missile turrets set on up, very creative use of the anti-air, making sure that they do have a zone of safety. In the meantime though, main base completely gone. That is going to be a clean plateau by this point. And KrisxBell losing bases, losing structures left, right, and center. More barracks coming our way. And by this point in time, there we go with the scan. Lurker on that high ground, getting the slice and dice action. Subterranean spines, always a good way to see. Siege tanks though, gonna be potentially blowing this hive up. Tier 3 tech gonna go offline here for our Zerg. Will the defense happen at any point in time? No! Broodlings instead gonna be coming on out, and here comes the Broodlord! It's time for a reckoning. It's time for some punishments, and it's time for GeoHen to fly along. He is quite low in the minerals and gas, but at the same time, KrisxBell is completely supply blocked. Cannot build anything else because the Zerglings have mopped up everything and anything that is essential to the Terran army. And interesting enough, we aren't going to see KrisxBell build any supply depots by this point. He has barracks, he has factories, but now he is looking pretty dead because he can't build any combat units in this effective area. The Zerglings are just looking so solid, demolishing everything in its paths. Metal, blood, chunks, gore, all of that being thrown askew by these Zerglings, and GeoHenPH crippling the opposition. The win, I give you win. What a thing to say. Can just say the GG. But the real thing there is KrisxBell's supply block way too long. Even with all that money in the bank, GeoHen able to take that W. Honest game there. Honestly, a good game there. Good defense from GeoHen. He was always in a spot of trouble, thanks to basically how KrisxBell played all throughout, and with GeoHen trying to play the macro, but then having to respond to respect the Marines, forced to go into that movement instead, move into upgrades, move into more Zerglings. But as soon as he got the pick off, that was really the start of something new. It cascaded from there, it got better from there, and overall a good show from GeoHenPH.